Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Hearts 89. Well, I finally got around to watching Season 3, Episode 3 of Discovery, People of Earth. I had a really nice day because I totally, forgot. I, blocked it out of my memory that it was, Thursday and I had to watch Discovery. I realised at, about 5 a.m. when I saw someone commenting on the episode. Oh, actually, no, sorry. One of my trolls sent me a message saying how it was the best and most inspirational episode ever. And I'm like, oh, crap, I have to watch it. So, yes, I watched it. It wasn't awful. It had some really stupid script story moments, but that would be consistent with the writing for the rest of the series and the people who are writing the series. And one really toxic, tedious moment, but the rest of it was a fairly cohesive story, and nothing really bothered me. So I was kind of surprised. So it opens with Michael talking. Basically, she spent a year waiting for Discovery to come, even though her hair has grown far more than it could possibly have grown in a year, unless she somehow was using future technology to make it grow faster or something. I don't know, because you see it growing. It's not like she's just replaced it. So I assumed she'd been on Earth for years, and I thought that would actually be quite a big thing for a character to go through, and would cause her to have some change and development. But she really, in a year, I'd really like one season. It just doesn't really seem like enough. But she is acting very different and very changed, and basically saying I'm a different person, and I basically gave up on you all. I let go of you all, and I accepted I was never going to see you again, and I sort of accepted my new life, and nothing quite feels familiar but distant, and I need to get used to it again. So she seems to be not sure about rejoining the crew or being in that time. She's still with Book. She was with him the whole time. They're just friends. And she basically became a courier and spent all her time trying to research the Federation and what happened. 700 years ago, dilithium dried up, which is weird how they would suddenly run out of dilithium when they'd been mining it for decades, centuries. You'd think they would be able to prepare or see something like that coming. I mean, that just doesn't seem realistic. And then basically there were attempts to create other ships with warp without dilithium, which seems like dilithium was just a power source, not what actually creates the warp. I don't see why they couldn't power their ships. There are other forms of power for warp ships in the other Star Trek, which they apparently don't seem to know about, and I guess hope the audience doesn't know about. God, what did they use on the Romulan ships? I've forgotten. It was really dangerous. It was not black holes, but there's lots of different ways. Transwarp. But I don't know. Apparently, these all just suddenly didn't work. So it doesn't really make any sense. They don't know how Star Trek works, the history, and they're just hoping the audience doesn't, because they're writing this story and they just want to get past the reality and the awkward sort of facts and technology that contradict their story, so they're just ignoring it all. So basically then all the ships detonated, which reminded me of the weird wording of Star Trek Beyond, where it said all the ships were the Federation fleet was detonated. I always thought that was weird. Is this something to do with that? Were they going to do something different in that story, or was it really just a spelling mistake? But that just seemed odd. So the Federation apparently does exist, but apparently they split from Earth because Earth basically became separatist and self-sufficient, and they felt that somehow they blamed the Federation, and basically they felt like the Federation was drawing problems towards them, and they basically closed off the planet, put a shield around it, and became isolationists, basically. She's still researching it. She still doesn't really know if it was natural or deliberate. So she comes back on the ship. There's a reunion. They're crying and everything. Giorgio's distant. She contacted Terra Elysium. They didn't know anything about her mother. Some Admiral Tull, sent a message out into space 12 years before saying any Starfleet ships come to Earth, basically. And she assumed it was Starfleet calling people home. But we find out later it was slightly different. Saru takes command. He does seem to think it needs discussion, but Michael is like, I'm quite happy to give it to you, like, because she doesn't feel part of the ship and the crew on some level, and obviously he is, he should be captain. He deserves. I don't know why she was ever really considered, aside from the fact that Sonequa Martin Green's character has to be the centre of everything and the most important thing ever. So I don't know why it was even considered, really. Discovery, of course, has their own supply of dilithium, which, of course, makes them a target. They decide to hide it in Book's ship, because I'm guessing his shields will hide it better than their shields. They don't really explain it. They just do it like most other things. They just do it because, story, reasons, and they don't actually give any explanation, really. But I'm assuming that's what it was. So, but obviously, that's going to allow the ship to be stolen later and take all the dilithium. So they get back to Earth. They spore, and this is one of the most annoying parts. After they arrive, which would just be like the star field would just blur and turn into another star field. It's not like you'd see anything really, but yet Book acts like he's the audience looking at the ship from the outside, and he's like, "Oh shit, you didn't tell me about the spinning part." Like you'd even know the ship spins. Like that. It's just such stupid writing for the audience. Like, they're stupid. It's just so insulting to my intelligence. I kind of forgot. There's a few insulting moments in the writing, but they're just stupid moments. They're not actually disrespectful to Star Trek sort of moments or anything like that. So it's not on the level of some of the other things that have upset me in the past with this show. And they encounter Captain Doyle, who basically tells them they're violating Earth space. They are introduced to the United Earth Defense Force, because Earth is basically isolationist now. And Saru pretends to be a generational ship, like we've just been cruising out somewhere for 900 years and we have no idea what's happening. It's really ridiculous. I should have just said we slipped into a time loop and it's 900 years and we really, be giving away some weakness, but it doesn't really work. So they're boarded because they've got, superior technology, so they just pop on the ship, they start inspecting it and going through stuff. And then we finally meet the transgender actor, they beam on with the rest. They're an inspector, and they are sabotaging the ship because they want to spend more time on the ship, so they actually stop the people from beaming off. So when they tell a story of how the Earth is constantly being raided by people for dilithium, and there's this main one called Wen, and he shows up with 5 ships, and they get caught up in that whole fight, and that's it's okay. Basically, they put themselves literally in between the ships and blah blah blah, and eventually Michael and Book, of course, steal Book's ship with the dilithium. And the only really great thing about the episode is you get to see Book in the Starfleet uniform, which is like a navy blue as opposed to the black he's been wearing. So you actually get to have a look at him. And he's hot, so that's nice. But that's about it. And he's complaining about the uniform because I guess there's some idea that she wants him to join Starfleet and come with her, and he wants to go off and do his thing. So they steal the dilithium, they take the ship out, they try to give it to the enemy captain, and somehow, and we don't see how this happens, they kidnap him. And they show up on Discovery with him as a prisoner. So they force a conversation between Captain Doyer and Wen, and it's going awkwardly. And Giorgio decides, I know I'm saying "and" a lot, decides to kick him in the back of the leg, knock him to his knees, and take off what is revealed to be a helmet. At first, you think he's an alien, and I guess Burnham knew somehow because she said perhaps you should talk face to face, because they're saying, when was the last time you talked? You need to resolve your issues, basically. So they take the helmet off, and he's a very sick human, and they discovered that they were and this makes no sense, and this is another part of stupid writing, assuming the audience is stupid and not going to actually think, but supposedly they were a human colony, a research colony, that was stranded with no communication. So apparently they couldn't communicate back to home. So they sent a ship which couldn't communicate even in orbit. It was destroyed. So they went back home and decided they got their shit together by themselves apparently, and decided to come back with strong enough force to raid the planet for dilithium and cause destruction and violence, and not think perhaps to use their communication, which they have, obviously, because they're on the view screen talking, to actually say, oh, by the way, we're from Earth, we're humans too, and basically we felt abandoned by you because you blew up our ship and didn't find out who we were, and it's just ridiculous. So they were fighting for 100 years because they couldn't tell them they were from Earth. It just doesn't make any sense. But basically they offer to help them repair, because they had a natural disaster that destroyed their habitats. So Earth's going to help them out. They're going to give them their research. Basically they just ended a war by making people talk to each other, because apparently these people, without the help of Michael Burnham and I guess Saru, they just couldn't say words to each other. Like they couldn't speak, they couldn't communicate the fact. It's just ridiculous. So that's resolved, and they even play the Star Trek theme, like, wow, Star Trek Starfleet saved the day. It's just, yep. And then we go to the really, really toxic scene, and I can't stand this. It's so condescending. Blue is playing a human hosting a trill. Admiral Tal was a trill. He died 2 years before that, and they mentioned that, so they were, oh, we came for nothing. Because they thought he was sending a message out for Starfleet people to come home. He was sending a message for Starfleet to return. So she apparently is hosting the trill for some reason, even though she's a human. Like, oh, of course, they wouldn't have any trills on the planet if they're isolationist. What was he doing there in the first place? See, no, it doesn't make sense. Why am I trying to think about it? You can't think about this show. So she is hosting this drill, but she can't access his memories, and they're hoping that because drills live so long, they're one of the only species who, of course, could have memories and know about the time that they're from and everything happened in the meantime. So they have to go, basically, and I guess transfer the symbiont to another host who will be the other character, the other transgender character, and actor or whatever. Sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, it's just too much. It's very late, I'm very tired. So basically they're just going to go, and she's going to stay on the ship because, and this is the toxic annoying scene, basically Stamets works out that she has basically snuck onto the ship because she wanted to basically connect with Starfleet people so she could go back and find Starfleet for some reason. I guess because he wants to find Starfleet, or they can't find the trill without... It's not really explained. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But she basically wants to join the crew, go with them, find Starfleet, find the trill, I guess, and sort out her symbiont issues. And they play this... the character's 16, and they treat her like a 5-year-old. And he talks to her like she's a little kid. And they have this really toxic little kid music playing in the background. Oh, it's awful. I was just cringing. I had a few... moments watching this, like, what is this? Not that one was just pure cringe, but I really should do a video reaction of me watching the show and just do like a supercut of just my freakouts, because it could possibly be funny, I don't know. But yeah, they just treat her like she's a 2-year-old, and she's just playing it like a 2-year-old when it's just, it just doesn't work. It's just condescending. I guess this is how they think of children. This is why they're making Star Trek shows for kids. Like, they think they're stupid and need to be talked down to. And they're apparently trying to attract the younger audience through this character. And they're condescending and treating her and thereby the audience as stupid, basically. It's just really... So the episode pretty much ends there. Michael and that basically discuss the captaincy because Saru was surprised she gave it up so easily. And the crew gets to have a brief little shore leave where they go down to Earth. And Michael doesn't go with her. It's just like Tilly and the bridge extras, the nameless bridge extras. And they actually have a few lines. And they basically go back to... It's either Starfleet headquarters or Starfleet Academy, because they basically go to this giant tree and talk about having all studied under that tree and all being familiar with that tree. And they're like, wow, 900 years ago we all stood under this tree at some point. Who else can say that? And the tree, of course, now is giant because it's been there for like 1,000 years. So they have that little moment, and they pull out from Starfleet, they're literally looking up at the sky. I'm like, why are they looking up out at the sky? I guess it's for this shot. So they pull all the way out, and you go past the Golden Gate Bridge and everything, and it is nice that Earth is intact, even if the Federation is gone and it's not Star Trek anymore. There's no Starfleet. They're basically a bunch of isolationists, which is what I guess they want Star Trek to be. They want Trump's America, I guess. They want that sort of isolationist what is that other term for people who are afraid of other races and other cultures? Whatever. That's basically the end of the episode. And the only other thing I meant to mention was Ditma, and I can't believe I've talked this long. The Lisa Left Eye, the one with the implant. She doesn't accept Saru's orders at first to put the ship in front of the other ship, and they lose the shields in one shot. And they won't basically survive a second shot. And she's questioning Saru. And whether that's supposed to be some sort of indication that he sort of hasn't really gotten command of the crew yet, they don't really see him as a captain yet, or whether it's supposed to indicate there's something happening with her because she got hit, she was acting weird, and now she's sort of questioning things. So whether that's all leading to something, or I don't know what that was about. But yeah, I mean, the episode as a whole wasn't that bad. If you forget it's Star Trek, and you don't think for a minute, you could almost enjoy it as a generic science fiction show, almost. But it is supposed to be Star Trek, and it doesn't resemble Star Trek in any way. And it is stupid. If you start to try and think about parts of the story, they just happen because, well, we need to get here, so this happens. Even though it makes no sense within anything that's established. So it's frustrating to watch. I really was banging my head a few times in this episode. Which I kind of forgot. At first I said it wasn't that bad, and now I'm remembering that it kind of had a few moments. But I'm sort of grateful that they didn't actually destroy Earth. It's not a vast Mad Max wasteland like the planet that they were stuck on, that they said they were going to be stuck on for the whole season. So I am relieved that they are out in space. They're on a journey to find Starfleet and then try and reunite the Federation and, I guess, find some way to... What are they all going to be spore driving now and spreading that around the Federation instead of... use future technology to then make spore driving the norm. So they basically re-establish the Federation as a spore-driven Federation rather than warp-driven. I'm not sure where the season's going to go, but I've nearly talked for 20 minutes. No one's going to watch all this. I don't know if I should redo this video in a very, very short version, but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know at least what you thought of the first part of the video, if you got through didn't get through to the end because it's too long. I don't know how I talked this long, but it didn't seem that complicated. But I'm actually going to go. I'm not going to get to 20 minutes. Bye.